supposed to be on.
Yeah. You're going on Twitter Spaces, right?
Yeah.
Let me see it real quick. See that right there, the microphone?
Yeah, I did that.
Hit it.
Okay.
Let me see. Hit the bottom right where the microphone is.
Right here?
No. Bottom right. Bottom right where
Oh.
the purple little dot thing.
This thing?
Yeah. Grandpa needs better glasses.
Needs thicker glasses.
Let's see, Trump.
Okay. Yeah, I think I should. Oh my God, Marshall, did you hear about this range that was available? Oh shit, 7:31. Go live on TikTok. John is too bright. Oh wait, that's you. All right, so 1 o'clock we're meeting Gage at Wing House. So yeah, just come over to the house about like 12:30.
How do you spell indictment?
I love how they've indicted Trump every time.
Alexa.
Biden comes out.
Alexa, spell indictment.
Indictment is spelled I-N-D-I-C-T-M-E-N-T.
Busy.
Want me to go live on all of them?
Cash, don't answer the door.
Want me to go live?
What?
Live on both?
I don't know. Maybe we can get him. Maybe.
Hold on. This is live.
No, we got to get going. Are we live?
We'll go live so I can do a sound test for you.
Might become
Okay,
a
live
500.
on TikTok. Live on TikTok. Should be right about now.
Post Malone got the one ring card.
Did he really?
Yeah. You're not live yet. Are you live?
Yeah.
I'm waiting.
Okay, there he is. All right, do a test on there.
Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3.
Try again.
Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3.
Bring it up to your face a little bit more. That will have to do. Well, we already got 9 people. All right, ready? And we're going to go to All American Gunslingers presenting you Baldy Reports.
Hey, this is John at Ubaldi Reports, the one podcast that provides fact, not fiction, on issues impacting America, whether domestically or globally. And always I have my co-host is Joe Bitts, combat Marine who served in Iraq. He was wounded there. I've got Ray Krause, another Marine veteran. And then I myself served 30 years in the Marine Corps with 3 combat tours to Iraq and Afghanistan. And what we try to do is provide fact, not fiction, when it comes to these issues that are impacting America. And I'm guessing the biggest topic, we were going to talk about issues facing America, but then the whole Trump indictment by Jack Smith, who was a special counsel appointed by Merrick Garland to...
He was aware of this. Like he was promoting, or not promoting.
Donald Trump?
Donald Trump was promoting it on Truth. He was like, "Hey, they're going to be coming. They're coming down at 5 o'clock."
I think the way I heard from legal scholars, the reason Trump knew he was going to be indicted, I think they send a letter to him or to his attorney saying that you're going to potentially be indicted.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess they give you a preparation to see. I don't know if they'll give you a legal recourse to fight against it, but that was That was the reason. So he knew it was coming, and I think that's a standard thing they do in the legal profession.
Now, a lot of the legal scholars are kind of saying this is BS.
Well, you have Jonathan Turley, who I always reference, who's the constitutional scholar from George Washington, and then you have Alan Dershowitz, the president emeritus at Harvard Law School. Both of them said this is more fluff than anything. And I read the 45-page indictment, and basically throughout the indictment was Trump knew, he honestly knew that he lost the 2020 election, and then that he knowingly he lost, but he was perpetrating a lie to let everybody know that he was fighting against it. That's and Turley and Dershowitz said that's a high bar to reach. That's like saying your First Amendment, you have no right to say anything.
Mm-hmm.
And if you read the indictment, if it goes against that he questioned the legitimacy of the 2020 election,
There's a lot of people that need to go down for that, right?
yeah, then you would have to indict every Democrat,
Hillary Clinton.
because she perpetrated a false narrative. Now, before this is through John Durham, the special counsel that was put forth by William Barr and kept on by Merrick Garland. He had stated that prior to the 2020 election, the 2016 election, Hillary Clinton was pushing this, and the FBI knew because they briefed John Brennan knew, who was the CIA director, and about in the fall, I think it was either September or October, before the 2016 election happened, he then briefed James Comey, he briefed Joe Biden, who was then vice president, and Barack Obama, that Hillary Clinton was pushing a narrative of false Russian collusion narrative to take the heat off her and her own email scandal. So,
well, let's kind of match it a little bit, though. Wasn't Barack Obama questioning the legitimacy of the previous election? So wouldn't he be just as guilty as Trump?
all of them were. Even President Jimmy Carter can be, if you go by the standards set by Jack Smith, he could also be indicted because he said Russia influenced the election for Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
So all these, but then you got to remember they went 3 or 4 years still pushing this narrative. And you got Claire McCaskill, who was the former senator from Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
She gets on MSNBC and she kept saying, yeah, Trump's a tool of Russia, Trump's a tool of Russia. So basically she could be indicted for pushing a false narrative. So, and that's the question. Now, Jack Smith, he has this ability to really stretch the truth. One of them was a case he had against Virginia, former Republican governor of Virginia, Bob McDonnell. And basically he was convicted, but then it went to the Supreme Court. And this is in 2016. Now remember, it went 9-0.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to remember, there are liberals on the Supreme Court. Even the liberal jurists, that includes Ruth Bader Ginsburg, said what the conviction of Bob McDonnell was an overreach, and what they said, it was boundless interpretation of federal bribery statutes. So he stretches the law almost like a rubber band to its exceeding the limit and oversteps the law that he's pertaining to. And a lot of people are speculating he's doing it here. And Turley and Dershowitz and other legal scholars have said there's nothing there. You're really stretching that truth.
Now, what's Trump's perspective on this? Is it just he just knows it's a witch hunt?
He's been saying all along that all these indictments, like in New York, down the Mar-a-Lago one, January 6th, is all a political witch hunt. Then you have the potential one coming up in Georgia over the Georgia election law in late 2020 into 2021.
Okay, so we do have a reappearance by one Beach Baby.
Oh, I haven't seen.
And what does she say?
She said, didn't Democrats try to block election certification of Trump?
Exactly. There was about 50, I think it was 54 Democrats tried to prevent the certification of an election for Donald Trump. And they did the same thing in 2004 in Ohio to certify Ohio for George W. Bush. So if you use the standard by Jack Smith, that means you would have to convict every Democrat. And that includes indict Hakeem Jeffries, who's now the speaker of the, I mean, not the speaker, he's the minority leader in the House,
Well,
because in 2016 he questioned the legitimacy of the 2016 election.
let's be a little bit balanced and fair about this. There probably were some Republicans maybe questioning the legitimacy of, say, Barack Obama or Clinton too. So when they would be just as
No, you're right. In the 2008 election, there were some Republicans.
okay.
I don't know how many questioned the legitimacy, and that was based off the citizenship of Barack Obama. There was speculation that he wasn't a citizen of America; he was a citizen of Kenya.
So are they trying to say just by Trump somehow initiated the crowd to storm the Capitol to overturn the results? Or
Yeah, but if you go by was it smart for Trump to get up there and give a speech like that? Probably not the smartest move. Even Jonathan Turley said the same thing. But if you read the text of his speech, he never said storm the Capitol. He said protest peacefully.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody takes things out of context. It's just like the Charlottesville one. I mean, everybody can rip me on this one.
Yeah.
But if you read the text of what he said, was not what was portrayed in the media.
Yeah. But also, when we say protest peacefully, we do have to understand that summer with BLM, there were protests, but then there were other people that started the riots. So protesting and rioting are two different things.
Yeah, but it just because I was on a radio show today, and the host brought up some of the things that you brought up. How Republicans or conservatives get out there and protest. What would you do if people come through your yard? Because he mentioned a place in Georgetown where I think his sister lives, which is just a stone throws to Washington, and conservatives come in and protest there. But okay, so what's the difference with the protests there compared to the protests at the Supreme Court justice's home, where one justice, Brett Kavanaugh, was a subject of an assassination attempt? Joe Biden, Merrick Garland did nothing to protect the jurist. So you could look at it from both sides, but I mean, right now you look at how they're treating Donald Trump. Now, whether he's guilty or not, I don't know. That's up to the courts. But look at
why so long to charge him?
But I look at also, it's not so. That's the other thing. Why did it take so long to charge him?
Mm-hmm.
But then why did they indict him now? When, remember, Monday, Devin Archer was on Capitol Hill and said Joe Biden knew about Hunter Biden's business dealings. He was on many of these phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
And Jonathan Turley and others have speculated. I've even read the transcripts. You have Dan Goodman. He's a Democrat from New York. And he almost basically implicated President Biden, because when they had a week ago, they had the whistleblowers from the IRS up there saying there was a double standard in how the investigation went to Hunter Biden. And Congressman Goodman got up there and stated, well, did Joe Biden actually knew? And he goes, not the way you say he knew, but he did know, because he sat there and Hunter Biden told him, hey, Dad, I'm doing business with XYZ.
Mm-hmm. Dan
Goodman mentioned that. But that's a far cry from I never had any business or any knowledge of what my brother, what my son was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had Joe Biden said, I can never remember her name, how it goes, but the press spokesman for the White House stated, well, President Biden was not involved in his son's business dealing. That's a far cry. And remember, during 2020, Joe Biden said, nobody in my family made money off China. Then we find out that Hunter Biden received $600,000. They released, I think, 4 bank documents that were found to be questionable because they think there may be fraud involved. And they found about 20 family members of the Biden family received hundreds of thousands into the millions of dollars. So that's a lie. Any way you shape it, they did receive money.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not the truth. So my question is, why is, with all this evidence between a laptop, text messages, witnesses from the IRS who are not Republicans, these are Democrats, why is it there's no special counsel here? But then when it comes to Donald Trump, they raid his home. His lawyers couldn't be present. Joe Biden has classified material when he was vice president and senator in about 6 different locations, but they allowed his lawyers to take the lead, and he was allowed to go multiple times back to his home. But
because Merrick Garland's his buddy.
And that's the point that people
Buddy
are.
old pal.
But see, that's the point that people are looking at. Look at the charges against Hunter Biden. One of them that was not charged was failure to file as a foreign agent, when they nailed many Republicans for the same thing. And there was even one campaign donor that donated to Joe Biden back in 2007 when he was trying to run for president, and he went to jail for 2 years, but yet Joe Biden gets away. And that's where people are looking at it. Why is there seems to be a 2-tier justice system? Because I would tell people, if you hate Donald Trump, that's fine. You despise his policy, that's fine. You think he's a whatever you can think of, but does his rights go away because you don't like him? That's why they think they can get a conviction in D.C., because 80 to 90% of Washington, D.C. voted for Joe Biden.
And
why would you think
it
you
was
can get
Obama appointed judge that's on that will rule over the case, and this judge has also been known to give harsher punishments than the recommended amount for January 6th.
The only thing is when they talk about this is a Republican, like this is a Trump-supported justice, this is a Obama-supported justice. The only thing I would push back on that, you have to go by their how they rule. It doesn't matter if they're Republican or Democratic appointed, because best case in point that I can remember, look at Earl Warren. He was appointed Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court. He was a Republican governor of California. And he became one of the most liberal justices in recent memory. And Eisenhower said that was one of his worst picks if he'd known that. But that said, just because you get appointed by a president doesn't mean you're going to follow everything. There are Trump-appointed jurists or judges that ruled against Donald Trump when it came to some of his election appeals.
Were there also ones in his cabinet that didn't necessarily agree with him?
There might have been a few. I think right now you're seeing Mike Pence say that he didn't agree with not certifying the elections early in 2020, but 2021 when they had to certify the electoral count.
So Fox News kind of made a correlation between something happening within the Biden administration or something happening with Hunter, and then something they would indict Trump on something. So most of the indictments kind of fell after something kind of broke through when it came to either Hunter Biden or Joe Biden in the dealings from overseas. So is this just like one of their ways to disguise?
That's speculation.
Or do you see that? Because from your point of view, because this is the Ubaldi reports.
No, I know, but I have no proof. You can just go by what you see. It just
true. You don't have any proof, but what are you seeing?
I'm thinking this is a way. Without proof, I'm just saying me speculating. I think it's a way to take the pressure off, because what are we talking about now? Mm-hmm. We're talking about the indictment of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
We're not talking about Hunter Biden spoke with his father about businesses. We're not talking about how Hunter Biden set up phone calls where his father came on the phone. And this one congressman that I mentioned earlier, Dan Goodman of New York, kept saying, well, they were just talking about pleasantries like the weather. But the question is, Joe Biden was at the time a sitting vice president. You're telling me he didn't have better things to do than take a phone call from his son to discuss whatever his son was involved in, that nobody thinks business wasn't discussed? Because Hunter Biden scored what he did. He delivered what he said he can do. I can get you my father. I can get you to speak to my father.
True. And let's just clarify especially in the TikTok, that what you're saying is not exactly the truth, but it's what you see, and what that's kind of like
just my expertise and my experience.
Yeah.
But it's just, think about it.
We should say, in your opinion.
Yeah, but just think about it.
Ooh.
Joe Biden said that.
Pagan. Got a tickle on that.
Okay, but Joe Biden said that he knew nothing about the business dealings with his brother, anybody in his family, and especially Hunter Biden. Now we find out that he was on these phone calls.
Yeah.
And he was speaking with the business members or the business leaders or entities that Hunter Biden was involved in.
Yeah.
And remember, Joe Biden also said his family never received 1 cent from money from China. Hunter Biden just in front of a federal judge said, I received $600,000.
So, you know what, let's kind of go back a little bit. And so, like, if you were to ask Ray and I, like, do we think the election was stolen, like blatantly, we would say yes. You think it was taken a different way because of them not acting accordingly or not acting swiftly on the rule changes and also the stuff that they were hiding with Hunter. But
there's two things.
Going into a question, though, is that can Trump investigate the election ballot fraud and with what was going on, all the silliness or all the...
He would have to go through his attorney general and make sure they have to make, whatever the legal language is to make a request. Now, I still think what you said earlier, Trump's attorneys weren't aggressive enough because they did this all through the pandemic. Once the first governor, I think it was Governor of California, decided to change the rules, how you vote and when you vote, you can't do that. That's when they started to sue. You can't. Nobody is going to overturn an election. There's no precedent in American history overturning an election. But that said, when I think that there was a fraudulent element to the 2020 election, look what happened. You had, and we're proving this now because the Congress requested records from Facebook. Facebook refused until they said, well, then if you don't give us these records, we're going to subpoena you. They then gave them records, and they found out Facebook was working with the Biden administration very aggressively while he was president. We know this happened at Twitter during the election. We can only speculate it happened at Google and at Facebook and other social media platforms. Then you look at the Hunter Biden laptop. We were told it was Russian disinformation, and you had 51 former senior level intelligence officials, a Secretary of Defense. You had former Director of National Intelligence, and also the CIA director, one of them being Leon Panetta and Michael Hayden, said this is all the hallmark of Russian disinformation. They wrote a letter, but in that letter they said we never seen it. That's just our estimation. And Leon Panetta to this day still thinks he was correct in doing that, but that changed the calculation. Now we're finding out that laptop was in fact authenticated, but it was authenticated a year before the 2020 election even started.
So Lisa Crawford has a lot to say.
What does Lisa Crawford have to say?
Well, she just said that the 2016 election was stolen. So I don't know, because we thought maybe you and I talking, we probably thought that Hillary was going to win. It was almost like, yeah, and here's Donald Trump. There's no way. And then we wake up on, the morning after the election, and it's kind of like, holy crap, Trump won.
Well, because the Electoral College favors the Democrats, even right now, because California, Illinois, New York are not going to go Republican anytime soon. California has 54 electoral votes, but going back to what she said.
But she has more to say. So okay, I think I want to hang on Lisa for a little bit. Okay, well,
but one point that she said, Michael Horowitz, who was Inspector General for the DOJ, he questioned. He goes, there was no validity to the Russian collusion. Then you had
Lisa's not going to like hearing that.
Well, fact is fact. Michael Horowitz was appointed by Barack Obama. Then you have Robert Mueller said the same thing. There was no Russian collusion. Then John Brennan went even deeper than that and said there was no even impetus to start this. So but see, that's the point. Alexander Solzhenitsyn made a comment about this. When you report something long enough and do it enough, even though it's false, people will start to believe it. And people still believe there was Russian collusion
So-
when there's no evidence to back that up.
I just want to let Lisa know that we're not at any means picking on you, but we're kind of just reading off what you're saying. And John's here just to maybe dispute it, but it says Trump with help from Russia, Cambridge Analytics. So they're saying that. So they're going with the Russian collusion, but where can she maybe read or educate herself on?
All I can say is go to John Durham's report. It's like I think 500 pages, and it goes in. There was no evidence whatsoever to start, begin, and continue the Russian collusion investigation. Now, the difference where John Durham disagreed with Michael Horowitz. Michael Horowitz said there was a legitimate case to begin it, but there was nothing to keep it going. Once they found out, and to this day, when the Russian dossier, which was the impetus to starting all this,
the Steele dossier.
The Steele dossier.
That's what probably Lisa had read.
Okay,
so.
but when you read that, I read that. That was released in January of 2017, and the first thing I thought, man, this is damaging.
Yeah, it was also bought and paid for by Hillary.
It was bought and paid for by Hillary, dealing with the FBI that they were feeding information to. So, but the point is of the Steele dossier, to this day, none of it has been verified. And to this day, it's false. And John Durham repeatedly stated that. There was nothing in that to back it up.
Yeah.
But people still ran with it. That's why I go back to the original premise. All those people who think Trump was trying to overthrow the 2020, if you use that by a model, you can go after everybody who's believed 2016 was stolen by Donald Trump.
John A. has been our entertainer,
What's that?
a commenter.
Oh,
and
okay.
Our entertainer. It's been funny watching him.
So it's just, I mean, people can believe what they want, but I would just say go read those reports.
Well, I mean, they could believe whatever CNN wants them to believe.
And that's the point. You got people on, but look at CNN. Who do they have on CNN? Peter Strzok lied and was fired by the FBI. Andrew McCabe was fired for lying, and he was being able to reinstated, but he was fired. So you got people who lied, leaked information. James Comey lied numerous times. Then he leaked classified material to a friend to get the Russian special counsel started, which was Robert Mueller. Then you had John Brennan, the CIA director, lied, not only lied to the American people, but lied to Congress. You had James Clapper, the national security director, lied about doing different things.
Let's touch on user Mimi real quick. What is he lying about? You know, just throwing it out there. But John, go ahead and continue.
Which one we talking about? John Brennan?
Well, no, you, John. Just continue what you were saying about.
Oh, yeah, just all these things. These are the people who weren't held accountable. Then you have Kevin Kleinsmith. He was the attorney for the FBI. He altered evidence to get a surveillance warrant on Carter Page, but never told the federal judge that he altered the evidence and lied. I talked to police officers because I work at a law enforcement supply company. I go, I'm not an officer. But then we do get a lot of federal law enforcement from the FBI. I talked to even FBI agents. If you would have did the same thing as Kevin Kleinsmith, what would happen to you? I would be fired. I talked to local law enforcement. If they lie on a case, all the cases they touched are tainted, and they can never be in the department that they're serving under because there was no credibility. If they ever got to court case, the defendants would say, you lied on this. How come what's to say you're not lying on this one?
Man, they're skewing you. I love it.
Well,
they're ribbing master guns so bad.
I would tell
funny.
people, you may rip on me. You may think I'm lying. You may think I'm full of BS.
Yeah, show them where you're wrong.
But I would please tell me where my facts don't match up with what I'm saying. Have any of you read the Robert Mueller report? I have. Have any of you read John Durham's report? I have. Have you read anything that Michael Horowitz said? I have. Michael Horowitz even complained that he pulled out 29 random samples of FISA applications, and in each case he found no evidence or very thin evidence to get a surveillance warrant. This same FISA application, I think it's 207, is up for renewal. So the president wants to renew it without any changes. So we're supposed to trust the FBI, and then we find out another report by Michael Horowitz, well over 1 million Americans were identified for being surveilled without their knowledge, without any warrant.
So I did want to talk about this because we talked about it earlier today.
What's that?
Lisa wants to know, have you read the indictments?
Yes, I've read the indictments. There's no evidence, and that's not me saying this. This is constitutional scholars who are Democrat and liberal. One of them is Alan Dershowitz. He is a hardcore, he even says it, I'm a hardcore Democratic liberal. But he believes in the rule of law. And he basically said one on a symposium he was doing is the shoe on the other foot. I hope someone who's investigating me is fair and goes by the law, not stretches the law just to nail someone.
So I think we're going to keep on going. I mean, we're getting close. I know Ray wants to talk a little bit, but I think we can kind of push this half-hour envelope because we are getting a lot of.
Hold on, I'm just disappointed right now. I asked what was for dinner for John A, and he told me lies. I was expecting like meatloaf or something. I'm hungry.
I'm hungry too, but even that. But
So
even
we're going to get to Ray, but let's keep on going with the conversation. Keep it going.
but even with this one person who said I'm lying, I would like to. What am I lying about? Where's the evidence that say what I'm saying is not factual? I mean, I've read all the indictments. I've read all the reports. And like I said before, Ray spoke and Joe made a comment. Take Michael Horowitz, appointed by Barack Obama. He pulled out and he did another report that showed there was massive abuses of the FISA application. Millions of Americans were surveilled without their knowledge and without a proper search warrant. And do we want to reaffirm this thing? I know they said, well, it protects national security, but that's a broad term when the FBI, who said, oh, we promised to do better, they've said that dozens of times, and they haven't. And I would tell people, if you hate Donald Trump so much, that's fine. But remember, the wheels of justice could swing the other way. So you're sanctioning false narratives, pushing indictments just for the sake of punishment. So we have a president using his Justice Department to punish his opponent and to prevent the voters from voting who they want to be president, whether it's Trump or whoever. So my question is, what happens if a Republican wins in 2024? You set the standard, so that means the Republicans can use the Justice Department to go after their political enemies?
Do you really think that's going to happen now? Do you think the Republicans are kind of...
I don't know. But look how they're treating...
I mean, they're clearly weaponizing the justice system now.
Okay, but what's to say when Joe Biden gets out of office, let's say he loses in 2024.
Okay.
What's to say the Justice Department's, okay, now we're going to go after Joe Biden. We're going to indict Hunter Biden. We're going to indict Joe Biden.
I don't think Trump would do that.
But let's just say, for the sake of argument, let's say, well, you did this to us.
They have the power.
We're going to do this to you.
Oh, no, they do have the power to do it. But I think, okay, in theory, I think in the 2016 election, like when there was, when Hillary was about to concede or was questioning about conceding, I think he and Trump, or her and Trump, had like a little chat. Like, look, I ain't gonna press anything further when it comes to you if you just accept it. And I think he would probably do the same thing.
He probably would, because remember,
he tell Biden, I'm going to leave you and your son alone if you concede.
But here's the thing. You never know, but it makes a plausible argument, because in 2016, remember the Trump rallies, lock her up.
Yeah.
As soon as he became president, he didn't do any of that stuff.
No.
And I would tell people, tell me what Donald Trump did that was so egregious for democracy compared to what Hillary did. And look what Joe Biden did. A federal judge out of Louisiana on the Republic, whatever. Shut up.
That time travel really quickly.
But I mean, but look what a federal judge it's kind of fitting, on July 4th really pushed the ruling out that President Biden extensively violated the First Amendment by censoring Americans. Now we're finding out Facebook had it, and there's more and more coming out when it came to COVID. Now, remember the analogy by what Dr. Fauci said, I didn't fund the Wuhan lab?
And they did.
And it wasn't a lab leak. Well, now we're finding it out. No, it's not. It maybe plausibly came from a lab leak. And then we found out we didn't fund Wuhan. Oh, no, we didn't fund. Then it became, well, maybe. No, yeah, we got some funding. Now the federal government a couple weeks ago said we're going to stop funding the Wuhan lab. I thought it didn't happen. How come they censored?
Remember, we weren't allowed to question this stuff?
Yeah, but see, we.
Well, yeah, I
but
mean,
see, you had.
to go into censorship through the social media alone, we would be here like another hour.
Exactly. But you had two prominent physicians, epidemiologists, one from Harvard Medical School and the other one from Stanford Medical School, were censored because they brought up the idea that it was it potentially was a lab leak. And here's the sad part. If you go by history, everybody can quote Eisenhower's farewell address when he said, be wary of the military-industrial complex.
Mm-hmm.
Read 3 paragraphs below. And I would tell our listeners, read 3 paragraphs below, and it's, paraphrase. It stated, we need to embrace science, but be wary of the scientific industrial complex who tried to push something to see the federal dollars going. Anthony Fauci had a meeting with a couple scientists who questioned, thought maybe there was a possible it came from a lab leak. Soon as he left that meeting, they changed their tune. Why? Was it possibly because Anthony Fauci controlled billions of dollars in funding and these schools wanted their research grants? We don't know, but evidence is pointing toward that.
John, I want to say how proud I am of you, because we have not gotten one of those things coming up on TikTok saying that we're going to edit some of the things you say because they might be too sensitive.
Oh, we just got it. Some comments in this live were filtered.
Oh, as I'm talking about it.
Way to go.
There you go.
Okay. Ray's got some information, especially because Ray and I are are all pro gun advocates, but especially he and I, since we are having our own gun,
when it comes
how we're having our own gun business, and we have our own gun show. So go ahead, Ray.
So yesterday in the news, the FPC, Firearms Policy Coalition, and GOA, Gun Owners of America organization, were proud to announce that the Fifth Circuit Board overruled the injunction for the pistol brace owners in being members of that organization, because they said that their lawsuit would most likely succeed. So what that means is we already know that next week's ruling, or when they decide to rule, we know pistol braces will be legalized again. That was very, very illegal what happened. It's fine to not like guns, but the problem is legislators did not legislate this bill to outlaw pistol braces. This came from the Bureau of ATF that decided to play rule changing. So that was very important. But the next important piece of this bill, of our lawsuit, was the SBRs, short-barreled rifles. And the argument was, if we could have the pistol brace, we should have the short-barreled rifle. And I
think if it ever got to the Supreme Court, I think the Supreme Court, if they go by other cases, non-gun related, they said the executive agencies can't make laws or change the law.
Correct.
And you may not agree with it, you may support it, but that's the purview of the legislature. If the legislature do their job, now they may not be perfect, but that's what our republic is about. Right. You've got to compromise, and it's not. You're pushing the legislative powers to the executive. If that's what we want, then we don't need a court and we don't need a legislative branch.
Right. So we'll see where this goes. I don't think we're going to hear anything anytime soon about the SBRs. All we do know is that the SBR portion of the lawsuit has gone forward for further review. And if it does succeed and SBRs are a go, that will be off the NFA item, and you won't have to do all the Class 3 paperwork to acquire a short-barreled rifle.
So I just want to let everybody know that we are going to continue the conversation on TikTok and Twitter Spaces or is it X Spaces
I
now?
guess.
But you can go ahead and get a hold of John. John, how can he do
You
that?
can go to ubaldireports@gmail.com, ubaldireports@gmail.com, or you can check us out on all our social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and obviously TikTok. If you missed this show, we're going to repost this in about 2 days, probably by Friday, and then we can see the other shows that we've done in the past. We've got about over 220 up on the social media the podcast platforms. So check us out.
Lisa, Google search that again. That was a bogus call. Fact check for you.
Okay. So you can get a hold of Ray and I through allamericangunslingers.com. That's our website. It's almost out and running. You can also get a hold of us at allamericangunslingers@gmail.com. Ray and I are in the process of building or having our own indoor gun range, plus selling firearms and having a gunsmith shop, amongst other things, teaching classes, all that kind of stuff like that. So if you want to get a hold of us, that's how you can do so, and we will talk to you guys soon.
So any more questions,